All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this regular school board meeting for the Tigard-Tualatin School Board. I will call the meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. Before we get started, I just, as probably many, if not all of us, have heard, a family in our community has experienced an absolutely horrific tragedy over the weekend. And so I just wanted to take a minute and have a moment of silence for the Granados Villegas family. So if we can all do that now, that would be great. Thank you. And I did want to say, I know there's oftentimes discourse and disagreements and division within communities. And so I just wanted to be thoughtful about the times in which our communities can come together. And I think it was Glennon Melton Doyle that said, we all belong to each other. And so I wanted to be thoughtful about the ways that, in light of whether it's incredible successes or these awful tragedies, that we find ways to come together, because all of our kids are each other's kids. And I firmly believe that. So I just wanted to be thoughtful about that and let the families know that we are thinking of them. And there is a GoFundMe that I know the Tualatin PSO page has posted, as well as some other community members. So I just wanted to mention that as well. And with that, Dr. Stu, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Chair. This evening, I'm asking that under action item D, the summer 2024 boiler replacement, that item be pulled from this evening's agenda. Late today, we received a petition from one of the bidders that will require us some time to work through. Our goal is to have the bid get back on the agenda January 8th, after we have cleared the concerns from that particular.
Perfect. So hearing that, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
I second. Motion was made by Vice Chair Jaimes and seconded by Director Zerschmied. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll move to a choral vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, and with that, we will move on to recognition and good news.
Okay, Board Chair Irvin, board members, Dr. Tonight we are celebrating the work of Tualatin High School broadcast technology students. The broadcast technology class of 17 students is doing great work connecting with our community and while learning valuable production and interview skills. And they are here this evening to share about one particular interview they recently conducted. I will hand it over to you to introduce yourselves and tell your story.
Howdy, I'm Christopher Zastro.
I'm Marissa Jenkins.
I'm Ryder Eaton. Class?
Yeah.
About the class, I feel like it's a very productive class we have at Tualatin High School. I feel like we have a really good group and we really just bond well, I guess, with each other. I feel like we get our work done when we're supposed to, and I like how we brought in Ike, this guy we'll bring up again, and how we got his interviews, and just a bunch of, we just try and make it unique and different from other things. Yeah.
So the topic of the day was our 103-year-old Pearl Harbor survivor, Ike Schaub. Interviewing him was interesting. I mean, brought me a lot of memories back from my own grandfather, who passed away last year at 92 years old. And it was nice to talk to somebody who lived through similar events that my grandfather lived through. Ike was a band member in the U.S. Navy during the attack. And like in here, well, or anything else. Experience like so it was quite an experience. I mean, like here. Anyone else want to say?
We went to Hawaii.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That was cool.
Sorry. Yeah. So it was blanking. What's going on?
Say he's going to Hawaii
Yeah.
soon.
No, he went to Hawaii.
You already went to Hawaii?
Yeah, it went blank.
Oh, he went to Hawaii. So he's doing that. I think this may, I don't know. That was something we talked about in the interview.
Yeah. The reason we did it on Zoom call is because he was going to Hawaii and he wanted to not
Didn't want to
quarantine,
get sick. Yeah,
so he doesn't get sick. So he go to Hawaii, and he went there, and that's a picture from Hawaii, and it looks like he had a good time. So we're very happy for that. And we talked a little bit about like how he felt going back to Hawaii. That was really nice. And he got to see the monument, the ship monument. What else?
He also met with the governor. Sure, talked about some quite, talked about Pearl Harbor, about the experience, and he mentions in the interview about how he really enjoys going there because he feels that he has to hold the honor and sacrifice that day of the people who are no longer with us today, and that's really why he enjoyed, and I'm sure he enjoyed going.
Yeah,
Some more pictures. Pictures of the, I believe that's the USS Arizona's monument there on the left, and then Ike sitting and watching the ceremonies on that right.
And you conducted some other interviews as well. You interviewed Dr. Steve, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
For the TUSU.
Mm.
And yeah, so thank you for sharing. Does the board have any questions or comments?
So and you can correct me if I'm wrong, so when you did the broadcast, in the original interview, he hadn't gone to Hawaii yet, right? He was planning on going. And so did you do a follow-up with him to kind of get some of those pictures about how that trip went? Or did he just...
Flies back today.
Oh, okay. Oh, so he's currently there. That's awesome.
So
I heard some plans, but if we
Oh yeah.
more than willing to interview him further.
Our teacher did say that when he gets back from Hawaii, he might want to come in person to see us. But like before he went to Hawaii, it was all Zoom because he didn't want to get sick. So just to be continued, I guess.
That's great. Yeah, he was a character, so it was fun to watch that interview. And I don't know if it was I don't know who the person was in the background that was a daughter or a family member or something. Was it his daughter?
Yes.
Yeah, that would like chime in these funny little things. So that was really great. So what was it like? And it's always kind of funny when it's virtual, right? Having those kind of interviews. But what was it like? And then I'll open it up to everybody else. I'm sorry. But just having that conversation with someone that had that experience, that was a musician in the Navy and experienced that. I mean, just for you, what was it like just having that opportunity and to talk with someone like that?
I would say it was incredible. Although personally did not. They said it was a pretty unique experience to talk on who experienced those events. Although they couldn't hear him so well through the TV, they tried their best, and they were inspired, I would say, to continue.
That's fantastic. Board members, students, anyone?
I just want to say I've watched the Weekly Wolf pretty much every week, and I really have enjoyed watching you guys. And over the course of the school year, to see your improvement in your broadcasting skills has been an honor to watch. And I really enjoyed the interview, the episode where you had the SRO on, and you were doing the detective work. That was a fun episode. I really appreciate the way that you've taken that morning minutes kind of event and really made it into a fun broadcast event. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I just want to echo my colleague's sentiment. You know, you guys do a really great production, and I think that it's a great way for you to share your talents with the high school community, right? And I'm sure that they are very appreciative of everything that you all put out there, and it's invaluable experience that you're getting. So, good job.
Thank you, and I just wanted to add, I appreciate that you've all done this work and used your platform to honor someone that contributed to our country. So thank you for doing that and for using your platform that way and for taking this educational opportunity. And so, really great work. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask you, are any of you interested in going in broadcast? Oh yeah, I was just curious if any of you are thinking of going into broadcast.
I'm interested in not broadcasting, more not mostly news related, but I'm planning on going to college for filmmaking and cinematography.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, and with that, we will move on to our student representative reports. Whoever wants to go first.
Okay, so for Tigard, we don't really have anything new. I think this week is just filled with a lot of like tests, but also like anticipation for like the break next week. I think our winter assembly got postponed, so I know some people aren't really like happy about that, but yeah, and winter sports just started. I think there's a basketball game going on right now next to us, so yeah.
Just to add on, to kind of celebrate the last week of our of being here before the next year, we're doing a spirit week out where today we're wearing our PJs, and then Tuesday is white lies, where it's like where you like wear a white T-shirt and then something on your back is like a lie that's supposed to be really funny. So for example, like one of the things could be like I don't drink coffee every day or something like that. And then Wednesday is candy cane out, so wear white and red, and then Thursday ski out, and Friday holiday
out. And then at Tualatin, we've adopted Tigard's tardy policy. We started playing music for the last minute before the bell rings. And then winter sports are also starting for us. Boys and girls swimming and wrestling have had their first meets. And then boys basketball is looking to defend its back-to-back state championships. And the girls are their season underway too. They finished third last year, I'm pretty sure. So they'll be looking to improve.
Is it true also, because I know at Tigard, right, that you can submit songs as a student that you want to have played? Does Tualatin do that?
Yes, we do. And today, starting with today, we've had a lot of Christmas and winter-themed holiday songs.
Interesting. All right. Very cool. And before we go on to our superintendent and board communications, we do have a slightly belated birthday from December 4th, and that is Rima's birthday. So we will all wish her a happy birthday, but not sing. Have the ones to pass around. All right. And so with that, I will move on to superintendent and board communication. Dr. Smith.
Thank you, Chair. As we're all aware, and you alluded to early this evening, our TTSD community received terrific news over the weekend. And we have a family that is navigating unimaginable tragedy and heartbreak. This evening, I want to use just a little time to express my gratitude to all the individuals that demonstrated immediate compassion and action in support of our family and in support of staff and students most impacted. First, on behalf of TTSD, I wish to thank the Washington County Sheriff's Office for their ongoing partnership, and specifically Sergeant Danny DePietro, who worked closely with our staff this weekend, and the care and concern that he demonstrated for our family and our community. My thanks to our student services and communications teams for supporting our principals over the weekend in thoughtfully and respectfully ways to inform our community as the news broke, and to convene our counselor flight team to provide support to our schools. Thank you, Director Rose and Director Skint. The principals DeLurba and Kosmala, along with our administrative team, thank you for your leadership and your care for your staff, your students, and your families. To our teachers and staff at Tualatin who had very difficult conversations today with our students, thank you for walking them through this loss with such great care, even as many of you were navigating your own grief. To the counselors and mental health professionals who came from every school across the district to be of service to Tualatin staff and students today, we are so grateful, and your continued service to TTSD is invaluable. And last, to our students, my heart is full hearing the stories of those planning to sell bracelets to raise money for the family, those creating cards and brainstorming other things that they can do to show their care for our family. We are so very sorry for your loss and so grateful for the amazing and caring individuals.
All right, directors for board updates. For those of you who know me well, you will know I care deeply about accountability and transparency, but it's also true that that can take time. I acknowledge feelings of frustration and impatience, and I call for patience while we follow the change process. Know that if we fall short, I will welcome your advocacy to do better. It is true that society is struggling, our kids are struggling. Schools are brimming with ongoing unmet needs, teachers doing too much with too little, and administrators trying to deliver the sun and stars on a shoestring budget. And yet, I hear about the U.S. history class enthusiastically reenacting a scene out of the Gilded Age. My middle schooler just played in the orchestra concert, along with hundreds of students and so many supporters that we ran out of chairs. And my younger son, someone is listening to his jokes all day and still teaching him division. Consider every day thousands of kids, the shoes to tie, the songs sang, this child fell in the mud, this child forgot his lunch. We are a large system full of thousands of people. We face difficult challenges, and we have incredible bright spots. They can both be true. We cannot err in our position or approach. We cannot be too punitive or too permissive, too rigid or too flexible. We must be fair and accountable, but not demonize or withhold grace. We cannot paint complex problems as simple. We cannot throw up our hands or walk away. Know that if the discipline policy passes, administrative rules spelling out robust implementation will follow. The discipline matrix in the handbook will also be discussed, commented upon, and voted on. Teachers and administrators will review it regularly on a predictable schedule and with opportunity for input. And if the three legs of this stool do not deliver, we will revise it. I welcome and will continue to welcome community feedback. I will support the administrators implementing this work, and I will demand accountability. I see local and state leaders alike who have come together to push for the resources our students deserve, and also continue to push for accountability in how those resources are used. Thank you for being strong and passionate and humble and caring. Thank you for always working towards positive improvements, not just for your own kids, but for your neighbor's kid and the kid you don't know. Thank you for the support you show in times of need, such as days like today. I know it's been a really hard day for a lot of our teachers, administrators, and students. I also have a 7th grader at Tualatin, so it's been really tough, and I think days like today really show that this is a wonderful community that comes together to support people, and I appreciate working with all of you as we keep making it better. Thank you.
Just want to share my deep sympathies with the Granados Villegas family. You know, it's something that I cannot imagine the pain of the loss that they're feeling right now, and it's reading the details in the newspaper. It's just it's a horrible tragedy, and I just want to let them know that they're in my thoughts and prayers. And then also with the Tualatin and the Tualatin High School community and how well they've responded and how they have they have all of our students in their in their care, and they try and do the best that they can to keep them safe and to keep them just comforted in this time of need. So I want to thank them for everything that they do, and I appreciate all of you being here. It's a great turnout today, so thank you so much for coming out. And yeah.
Yeah, I I echo the sentiments about my feelings of condolences for the family and schools involved in this tragedy. It's one of those horrific things you never want to have happen at your school. It's horrible anywhere in the world, but when it's at one of your schools, it feels extra personal. And so I'm very sorry. I was not able to go to the Budget 101 meeting last week, and there was something in that meeting that I wanted to pull out, since I have the role of being the old, long in the tooth board member. During the budget presentation, when Director Moore was talking about the various weights that we get for students and mentioned that we had 3 pregnant and parenting students, that really struck home for me, because back in 2013, which was the last time I can find the data, we had 18 pregnant and parenting students in this district. And we voted to start including birth control at our school-based health centers in 2018. And by 2020, we had 8 pregnant and parenting students, and now we have 3. And while I don't want to make the mistake of misidentifying correlation for causation, I have to wonder how much of the good work we've done as a board over the years to help kids have access to birth control has meant that there are fewer kids having kids. And I think we can all agree that keeping teenagers from becoming parents too soon is a really good thing, because then they can focus on their educations. So I just wanted to make sure that people who maybe didn't know how far we've come know how far we've come. I also, we had a written public comment that won't be read out loud this evening, but in that the writer said that we've had a lot of disruption in the community. We've had a lot of friction in the community, and healthy friction is a good thing. But she mentioned that she didn't want us to be fighting with each other, and that we needed to make sure that our frustrations with student aggression, with behavior problems with our students, that we come together as a community to solve those problems. And specifically, she mentioned that we need to take that frustration and take it to Salem and take it to the federal government, make sure that they're funding education the way it should be funded. All of the teachers in the room know that they're not getting paid enough. I know you're not getting paid enough. I'm delighted that Tigard-Tualatin, as reported in the Oregonian, we have the top pay in the top 3 of pay scales in all 4 categories that the Oregonian looked at. Starting teacher pay, starting teacher with a master's, middle of the pack, and teacher who's been at the top of the scale. We're in the top 3 in all of those categories. I'm really proud of that, but it's still not enough because I know how hard you guys work. So if we can take that frustration and move it to the places where it needs to be, and that's Salem, and that's the federal government. When I look at the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act, the federal legislation that says, here's how we manage our special ed students, here's what you guys need, what you all need to do. The federal government gives us a very small amount of the money needed to do all those things. And they don't increase it if we get more students. It's one set dollar amount. And right now that's something in the ballpark of 9% of what it costs to educate that special ed child. So if we could go to the federal government in mass and say, hey guys, how about you actually pay for what you're asking us to do, we would have so many fewer problems with behavior just in our special ed population. And then if we took that same energy and we did it to all of our kids and said, post-pandemic, we've got behavior problems. We know that's the case, right? So let's have the federal government and the state step in and say, yeah, you've got problems and we need to fund it. But let's not bicker among ourselves about how we're doing it. Let's go to the people who have the deep pockets, because quite frankly, the district does.
I will just end with, I already said my piece around the family and coming together. And again, I think you think of beginning of the year, back to school celebrations, and you think of graduations, and there are these times where everybody comes together. And those are the really positive pieces and times. And then we have ones like this where we really can wrap around each other. And similar to what Director Zerschmied said, really all of us and Director Weston, we really have opportunities to continue to be the community that has come together, whether it's the Student Success Act or the budget committees or the community work session that so many of you were at around this policy, and really, and also to the public comment, the written one around, you know, we are that community and we do engage in those ways, and it's okay to have disagreements and discourse and different experiences. That's a given, but I think the ways in which I hope we have and can continue to navigate those conversations continue to be ones that move us forward, instead of just sort of pull us apart and divide us, because I think we have opportunities and a lot more to come to engage in that way. So I appreciate everyone for being here. I laughed when Director Weston said the piece about your kiddo and jokes, because I'm looking at like all of my children's teachers over there, and I had some and have some still sprightly, strange little people. And so I appreciate all the work that they continue to pour in to kiddos. And as a teacher myself, I know what we are all managing on a daily basis. And so all of the things that everyone said is true, and I won't say it all again, so I will be done now. So thank you. And with that, I will move to our public comment portion of this evening. And let me read sort of the process and expectations. So after being recognized by the board chair, you will identify yourself with your full name and zip code of residence. Public comments are shared with the board during the public comment portion of the meeting and are limited to 3 minutes, which will be up on the screen for you. Your comment should be brief and concise, and please be aware that the time will start once you have given your name and zip code. You may also submit written public comment, which will be read by the board and become part of the public record, including the meeting minutes. It will not be read aloud at the meeting. And I just want to point out, I believe we have 2 written comments at this point that will be in the record and part of minutes. Speakers may offer objective criticism of school operations and programs. The board will not hear comments regarding any individual district staff member nor any person connected with the school system. If the current public comment agenda item exceeds 30 minutes, which this shouldn't, we may extend at the discretion of the chair to ensure that all TTSD students and parents are heard. This is no place for bias or hate. There will not be profanity or language that minimizes or causes harm to anyone else's identity for policy ACC. If such language occurs, the speaker will forfeit the remainder of their time and be removed from the meeting. This is no place for violence or threats. There are still active investigations. Any threats or threatening language will be taken seriously and will include follow-up with law enforcement. And with that, let me grab my spreadsheet. And we have Beatrix. And if you want someone to sit with you, you absolutely can do that. If you're good, then you're good. And then you'll push that button. It's a little different than our regular boardroom, and the light should turn green. Yes. And once you see a green light, you are good to go. Yes.
My zip code is 970. My name is Beatrix Haslam, and I'm a 7th grade student at Hazel. I'm here today to share some of my experiences in our district. I'm not on an IEP or a 504 plan, and even though I was hoping at one point to qualify for TAG, I did not. So I'm here representing my experiences as a regular student. I've never been written up, nor an administrator has ever called home because of my behavior. I've never been in a fight, I get good grades, and I stay out of trouble. I've had incredible teachers that have taken an interest in my activities and made learning fun and engaging. I remember being heartbroken to say goodbye to my elementary school teachers, who I loved and adored. During my time at Hazelbrook, I found teachers like this again, who create wonderful, creative learning environments within their classrooms. Many of my friends feel the same. We all have teachers who are looking out for our best interests. These teachers have high expectations for us, and it makes us feel good to succeed in their classes. It makes us feel like we are important, and they treat us like real people. Unfortunately, not everyone treats our teachers with kindness. We all have had many classes where we don't feel like we've learned anything due to student behavior. We are constantly having to listen to horrible language, disruptive pounding, actual tantrums, distracting behavior, and comments every day. The teachers try to push through, but the students often get in their way. The behavior is hard to focus. The behavior makes it hard to focus. I watch students cuss out teachers when they don't want to follow the rules or they are having a bad day. It sometimes feels like these students just get a vacation from school. Some students don't even ask to leave the class. They just come and go as they please. Rules don't apply to them. It feels like they are doing it on purpose, and it often ruins the entire class. We all have witnessed it almost daily. We don't know what to do. I know fights are talked about as well. Yes, they happen, and yes, they become normal. And this, too, is a problem. If I didn't have good friends and teachers, I wouldn't want to come to school. Recently, I saw a student get bullied and knocked to the ground. I was afraid to get involved because I didn't want to get hurt as well. So I waited until an adult came and helped. I felt sick about it. I know the right thing to do is help, but at Hazelbrook it feels more right to just try to avoid it. It feels like the students that are disruptive and fighting just come right back to class and get treats spread them to be good. I've been good for 7 years and I haven't gotten a treat. My 8th grade brother, who is always hungry, just noticed that the kids on the attendance and behavior plans get Grubhub lunches. He jokingly said he should just yell and be disruptive or skip school, and then he could have someone bring him food. It feels like there are two groups of kids, the ones that follow the rules and everyone else that just gets to do whatever they want. We talk about equity in all of our classes, and I wonder if my friends and I are experiencing at school is equitable. I hide from helping people for fear of becoming a target. Miss class time due to disruptive behaviors and watch others who violate the rules get rewarded with. I may not understand everything, but I don't think that that's equity. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. All right, and next up we have Amy.
My name is Amy Mangum and my zip code is 97062. I'm an 8th grade student at Hazelbrook and a student representative on the Hazelbrook Site Council. I want to speak today about the violence, aggressiveness, rudeness, tardiness, and hate directed at students and teachers every time other students and I walk into the school doors. I want to give you some examples of what happens at my school. Today around the school there was a picture of a naked student being Snapchatted around to everyone, including people who didn't want to see it. Luckily, a friend warned me to not look at it, so I didn't see it. Last week, in my friend's class, 3 students got into a fight. Multiple students left in the middle of the class, and students were swearing at each other and the adult class helper. They were using all the swear words and saying terrible things. In the bathrooms, they were vandalizing, stealing food like spaghetti in the toilets, things smeared everywhere, paint on the floor and the walls, and vaping. I heard other students tell people to kill themselves and use awful language to talk to each other. Students swear and yell at teachers when they're told to do their work. I had a pregnant teacher that had students throw pencils and other garbage at her stomach while she was teaching. I'm in the leadership class at Hillsbrook. Last year we hosted a Halloween dance and half of our class worked in the spook alley. In the spook alley, my classmates got kicked, stomped, and punched. I was at the end of the spook alley. I got slapped, punched, and kicked. I jumped out to scare a group of students, and one of the students grabbed my face and I was wearing a mask, so I had some protection. I was so upset I was crying, and if you ask my friends, they know how much I hate crying in public and in front of others, even members of my own family. I talked to my vice principal about it, and he told me that it was dark, so there was no idea of who could have done it, even though I told him exactly who it was, and other students told him this too. The student was never punished. A lot of kids are never punished, in fact. They are rewarded for their bad behavior. Kids skip class, are tardy, but then are rewarded with Uber Eats and popsicles for barely coming to class. Nobody should hear the things that I hear at school every single day. Plus, it is sad that I'm used to it. I hate going to school. I wake up knowing that something bad will happen at school today and that nothing will be done about it. Every single person I talk to dreads going to their next class because we never get our work done, we never learn, and half the class is mean to the other students and the teacher. I'm angry that nothing is changing. Please help everyone feel safe at Haysbrook and start doing what you say you will and take action to address these problems. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have Christy Baker.
Hi, I'm Christy Baker, 97223. I'm a representative of Parents' Rights for an Education and also a child advocate for Washington. The Parents' Bill of Rights actually has current amendments out there right now that, you have a policy that you're trying to push forward and vote on, but in reality, we have not even seen the handbook yet. We haven't seen a final version of your matrix yet for violence and consequences, and we also had a request by one of your board members to add a communications for parents, what also inside that same handbook, but we have not seen any of that. And that Bill of Rights actually makes a statement that can't go forward until we do see it. It is a part of this. Title II, Section 201 expands a current law provision to require educational agencies to provide parents access to inspect all reading materials, professional development materials to be used in the schools. The educational agencies cannot limit the access to inspection by the parents. Same parent consultation update includes FERPA to ensure parents are fully engaged in the development of policy and procedures. That's not happening. You're giving us a online to put in our comments, and we actually went to a in-person thing, but we're not seeing what we are stating is actually being added to this policy. You know, and that's the thing is, where's the handbook? Why can't we see that? We're supposed to see that. We're supposed to see the funnel version of your matrix and add that communication in there for the parents, because that's a big thing that's missing. Along with the accountability, any consequences for superintendent and boards if they do nothing or bury the investigations. Where's the accountability there? There isn't any. And that also has to be stated in there at some point. Also, to the communication matrix, we have, you're going back and forth between the shall, will, and may, those words. Well, in ORS 339.327, it says, shall notify the parent and guardian of the threatened student. That's the word you need to use, shall. May means I can do what, you can just do what you think or your judgment. Shall means you have to. Will means it has to happen. So shall needs to be used, if that's a confusion amongst those words. And we have a behavior committee that was formed in our last contract settlement with the purpose of making recommendations about the systems and policies regarding behavior. We need to use that because that's their job. That's what you put them there for. And just, we need to start listening to other people and let them put in their words too. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next is Janelle Johnson.
My name is Janelle Johnson. My zip code is 97224. I am a Tigard resident. I am also a local business owner and a licensed teacher in this district. I've been a part of Tigard-Tualatin School District for 49 years. I completed my entire education through Tigard-Tualatin School District. And all 4 of my children graduated from Tigard-Tualatin schools. I've been a student, I've been a parent, I've been a volunteer, a PSO member, a reading instructional assistant, a special ed instructional assistant. I've currently been teaching 11 years in this district. I've been involved for a very long time and I've experienced much. Tigard-Tualatin used to be the district to be in and work for. I don't feel like that anymore. And clearly I'm not alone. It's only been in recent years that I've seen a substantial decline in Tigard-Tualatin School District. I've noticed an increase in behaviors and a decline in how we respond to those behaviors. Class size is out of control in some classrooms. Increased employee workload is an issue, and I've seen a dramatic decline in staff and teacher morale. With limited time, I will address behavior. We've seen this district go from 0 tolerance to 0 consequences for behavior. The things I've seen happen with no consequence is disturbing. We as a district are sending a message that undesirable behavior can continue because we give students no reason to stop that behavior. I don't need to go into all the different scenarios across the district, but as you know, there are many each day and the severity is high. Room clears are frustrating and I feel ineffective. We should be removing the child being disruptive and not the other 28 students in that room. We aren't teaching discipline, period. Would any of you who have children allow your child to act in those ways without consequence or the attempt to stop that behavior? I don't think so. I understand that there are limitations that we have regarding discipline that are out of your control, but there is much that can and should be done. Tigard-Tualatin School District is near and dear to my heart. There's a lot to fix in this district to bring it back to being the pillar of education that it used to be. Major changes need to be made. If you value your teachers and staff, hear us, listen to us, and consider our suggestions. Our input is important and it's worthwhile. Thank you.
Next, I have Bettina McGowan.
McGowan, 97035. Thank you for taking time to listen. I believe that we are at a turning point in public education. Fortunately, I believe that we are all in agreement that the goal of our schools is to provide a quality education for every student. But I think we also agree that this is only happening if we have a functioning and safe learning environment for students and staff. Sadly, when it comes to safety, we're at a breaking point at my school, at Durham. We cannot offer the most fundamental part of a successful school anymore. Out of control behaviors, dysregulated students, and verbal and physical outbursts are daily occurrences. Educational values, such as the right of inclusive education for all, is an idealistic value that doesn't match the changes we are seeing in our student population. There are simply too many dysregulated students for our mainstream classrooms to absorb. The language used by students, even the youngest of them, has deteriorated to a point of shocking even the most veteran teachers, and verbal abuse has evolved into physical violence directed at staff and students. Staff members have begun to resign, and as sad as that is, it is worse for the other students who cannot simply leave and find a different school to attend. The ideal system we created years ago, that of mainstreaming every child whenever possible, does not meet the needs of the students coming through our doors today. Durham is a prime example that this idealistic system is frankly outdated and needs to be restructured so that we can account the entire school and their needs. While we at Durham are thankful that we've gotten additional staff assigned to our building, that plan, for many reasons, is not working as our problems have only increased. Maybe the no consequences model as practiced at Durham needs to be reconsidered. It's not serving anyone at this point, and it is harming even the students it was meant to help. Room clears, verbal outbursts, physical attacks, destruction of property, racial slurs, bullying, traumatic meltdowns are all things that our students should not have to experience in the name of 100% inclusion and restorative circles. Maybe an alternative model such as Creekside needs to be offered to the middle and elementary level. Maybe we should add models in neighboring inclusive school districts whose rules follow the least restrictive environment for learning determined by IEPs. Maybe existing staff members who are currently not used to their best potential can be reassigned into more meaningful job positions. I want to close with a quote from the book Onward, and it is about change. Change challenges our mental models of how things should be or how we want them to be. Human beings like control, yet at the core of change, whether it is a change we want or we don't want, is a grand shift in our relationship to control. If we examine how we interpret change, we can expand our options for action. We are ready for a change, but we need you to be ready for a change as well. We need your help.
Next, we have Deanna or Dina Kronsa. I apologize if I didn't say your name correctly. Deanna.
Hey, I'm Deanna Kronsa, code 9706. Dear school board members, here today to discuss some significant concerns within our school. Recently, we've noticed an uptick in disruptive behaviors that are affecting the overall safety and learning environment for all students. Our primary focus is on the crucial issue of social and emotional well-being, recognizing its pivotal role in the success and holistic development of our diverse student population. I must express reservations about the effectiveness of the new behavior policy. It seems vague, open to interpretation, and lacks specific elements to bring about meaningful change within our schools. I believe we need a more concrete approach and visibility to address the escalating disruptive behaviors and foster a positive learning atmosphere. Kids need consequences and to be held accountable. As we navigate the complexities of the post-pandemic landscape, it's increasingly clear that our students are grappling with a range of social, emotional, and academic challenges. Within our classrooms, we're observing a concerning surge in dysregulated behaviors, presenting significant hurdles for both students and educators. Some noteworthy examples include instances of students expressing anger by tearing down bulletin boards, overturning furniture, and engaging in disruptive outbursts that necessitate room evacuation. This disruptive behavior extends to both classroom instruction and the playground, manifesting through intentional rudeness, inappropriate language, object breakage, crawling under desks, just to name a few occurrences. One potential solution my team and I have come up with to alleviate this issue is to consider dividing the roles of school psychologist and counselor. By doing so, we can create a more specialized approach to meet the diverse needs and emotional needs of our students. However, this proposed shift necessitates careful planning and consideration of how the district can ensure the successful execution of both roles, ultimately guaranteeing that all students receive the support they require. Our recent experience has indicated that the current role of the school psychologist, with its limited capacity, has hindered the ability to adequately address the social and emotional needs of our entire student population. The focus has been predominantly on a specific subset of students, leaving many without the essential support they desperately need. For the second consecutive year, we have experienced a mid-departure of our counselor and psychologist due to lack of specific. What?
You can submit that, and the whole thing will be in the, yeah,
So
okay,
just
perfect.
thank you for your time, and
Thank you. All right, Jennifer Brown. Yep, Jennifer.
Jennifer Brown, 97007. Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Sue, cabinet, and guests. My name is Jennifer Brown, and I'm a teacher at Deer Creek Elementary, vice president of the TTEA, and one of the co-facilitators of the joint TTEA TTSD Behavior Committee. I'm here tonight to share with you some information about this important committee and ask for some help moving forward. Let me begin by giving you some history. During the past negotiation cycle, there was much conversation concerning behaviors in our schools, as there has been for several years. It was TTEA's position that district operations concerning behavior were not working, and that teachers and site administrators needed to come together with the district administration to make changes. Through multiple hours of conversation, contract language was agreed on that, in short, organized a committee with equal members of licensed employees and administrators that would address, review, problem solve, and make recommendations on the district's student behavior discipline procedures, restorative practice policies, building level PBIS, RTI, MTSS systems, and support services for students. The reason I share this history is because the role of the committee in the formation of the student acts of aggression or violence policy that the board will be considering tonight has been misconstrued. The behavior committee did not have any part in writing this policy, nor did the committee have any part of drafting this language outside of providing feedback. As you saw in your board packet, our committee did give feedback on 2 different occasions. If you had the chance to dig into those meeting notes, you would have seen that very good quality feedback was given. While it is appreciated that this committee was given the opportunity to provide feedback, I believe that the committee was not used to its full potential. Moving forward, I am asking for the district leadership and the board to utilize this committee in the capacity that it was designed to problem solve, draft, and recommend sound policies and procedures to the district based on current school and classroom needs. Once the student acts of aggression and violence policy is adopted by the board,
The more important and specific working language of the administrative rule, the AR, and the student handbook will be drafted, reviewed, and approved. The TTEA-TTSD Joint Behavior Committee stands ready to provide more than just feedback. We ask that the district leadership and the board support the committee in being part of drafting and reviewing the AR and the student handbook language, leading to a formal recommendation of both to the district. Finally, I'd like to thank the other facilitators and the members of this committee for their hard work and dedication to our students. This committee is a great mix of professionals, and I'm proud to be part of them. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ronnie Proudfoot.
All right, my name is Ronnie Proudfoot. I'm a third grade teacher at Durham Elementary. My zip code is 97005. At Durham Elementary School can no longer provide a safe teaching space under the current conditions. Due to escalating student behaviors, verbal abuse, and physical violence, the other students' safety, mental health, and education are compromised every single day. Current district policies and practices are endangering both students and staff. Outbursts, violence, and dysregulated behaviors will only continue to worsen if we do not dramatically change what we are doing. We are not talking about normal misbehavior, as one might imagine, but rather about physical assaults and destructive behaviors that would not be allowed in any other public school district in our area. Teachers, administrators, counselors, secretaries, student support specialists, nurses, instructional classroom and SPED assistants, custodians, and kitchen employees have left and are leaving at rates much higher than normal due to the unbearable stress at Durham. Many of us end our day in tears. Imagine how it is for students who, unlike adults, cannot choose to leave when it becomes too much for them to take. Zero consequence policies and a belief in full inclusion cannot come with a disregard for other students and stakeholders in the building. It is not safe, and the staff can no longer do their jobs under these conditions. And what is worse, students can certainly not learn and grow in this kind of an environment. This was a letter signed by a large portion of the staff at my school. I would also like to include that just in this last week, our library has been ransacked by one student, leaving staff in tears, feeling helpless and hopeless. Volunteers, not the student, put our books back in order. In another incident just this week, a student destroyed the art installation created by our community a few years ago. Our school is literally being allowed to be torn apart. It's heartbreaking and demoralizing. We are asking for the district's support. We need an emergency intervention to restore our school to what it was and what it is supposed to be, a safe, happy place where students are content, feel welcome, feel safe, and are able to learn. We need your help. We're asking for your help. We don't need nice words and revised possible policies. Those things can come later. We need immediate action and change. I feel it's only a matter of time until a child or a staff member suffers irrevocable harm as a result of these destructive actions and behaviors that are being allowed to continue. Please do something. We need your help. Thank you.
All right, and finally, Janet Bailey.
Hi, I'm Janet Bailey, 97062. I've been in Tigard-Tualatin for almost 2 decades now. Since 2018, when the new leadership took over. I've watched TTSD go from a highly sought-after school district to a school district with drastic decline. Because of the last 5 years of failed TTSD leadership, our children are below grade level in almost every subject. At this rate, our kids will not be able to compete in the job market as adults. This school district is an embarrassment. Tigard-Tualatin School District's failed policies have contributed to ranking Oregon schools as the worst schools in our nation. That's right. On a scale from 1 to 50, Oregon sits at number 50, and that's the very bottom. I've spoken at Tigard-Tualatin schools before, and when you haven't liked what I was saying, you just cut me off the mic. Rewarding failed behavior, lack of accountability, and no consequences is a pattern throughout Tigard-Tualatin School District. It is not only evident with the leadership here, but we've seen it trickle down to affect our children and even our teachers. Look at the violence in the classrooms and the hallways with little to no consequences. At the November 20th school board meeting, Sue Ricky Smith refused to acknowledge the real culprit in the assault video.
I want to remind you, we are not discussing specific district personnel.
Okay. And continues to blame other students. It's been refused to publicly denounce violence and did so when pressured by the community. Classroom disruptions continue as the norm with no consequences. TTSD schools are a danger zone and not a good learning environment. Teachers, parents, students, and outlying communities see what's happening at Tigard-Tualatin School District. The violence at Tigard-Tualatin schools has even made national news, and that is heartbreaking. Earlier this year, Tigard-Tualatin Education Association voted that they had lost confidence in the superintendent. So far, nothing has been done by the school board to address the TDEA's lack of confidence vote against the Tigard-Tualatin superintendent.
Okay, I had warned you not to talk about district personnel specifically.
I didn't say her name.
There's one superintendent, so I'm going to have you forfeit the rest of your time. Thank you. Nope, thank you.
We want.
All right, and Patty, I just wanted to confirm we don't have any public comment for the SIA agenda, correct? All right, and with that, we will move on to our first action item, the Student Investment Grant Agreement with Director Moore.
Good evening, Chair Irvin and members of the board. I have our assessment coordinator, Paul discuss some of the content grant agreement. For the student investment account, the Department of Education requires board approval of the grant agreement, specifically for the student investment account, in addition to submission of the board minutes before they will release funds related to this grant. Just wanted to go over some of the key elements of the grant agreement. The grant funds total approximately $11 million, and this includes $200,000 for the Mitch Charter School allocation. Exhibit A describes the intended project activities, including some background and goals going back to May of 2019 when the Student Success Act was signed into law and established the student investment account, providing funds on a non-competitive basis. However, the district is required to work alongside the various stakeholders in the community to develop the plan in conjunction with the allowable uses under the law. There's primarily two purposes of the SIA grants: behavioral or mental health needs, in addition to increasing academic achievement and reducing academic disparities facing students from racial or ethnic groups that have historically experienced academic disparities, in addition to the various other student populations, including English language learners, students with disabilities, and others. Exhibit D also addresses the project activities that are that are part of the integrated plan implementation, including the appropriate uses of the grant funds, including increasing instructional time, addressing students' health or safety needs, reducing class sizes, and expanding well-rounded learning experience opportunities. Finally, in the Exhibit B, I think I referenced the prior exhibit as Exhibit B, but it's Exhibit A. But in Exhibit B addresses some of the performance framework, including the 15 progress markers for the current biennium, which would require quarterly and annual updates to the Department of Education. An example of that early on, the expectation is that there's that community engagement that's integrated into the selection process as far as the activities and budget, in addition to centering those activities and budgets in equitable outcomes for all students. Finally, and this is why Paul's here this evening, it requires development of longitudinal performance growth targets. When we submitted the application, those were still in development. What you're seeing within the agreement that we presented this evening is the actual finalized co-developed version of those targets. And I'm going to turn it over to Paul to address those.
Yep, and I do apologize. I'll probably get the longitudinal performance growth targets phrase wrong a couple of times unless I really try very carefully. These goals were developed in partnership with ODE through our partners over at the Northwest Regional Education Service District. They are the goals, I believe they are in appendix, and I do apologize if Appendix B, where which is on page 23, I believe, of the grant agreement. There are 5 performance targets. These targets are very similar to those that we have in our strategic plan, so they are not any way different than how we are doing our normal business. They were developed around there are 3 basic ways that they were developed. They were developed as the regular goal was developed with the understanding that the pandemic and all of its effects on our district have occurred, and therefore we would like to return to pre-pandemic levels. And so those goals were created around that. Our stretch goals were created around trying to continue our goals from before the pandemic and try and reach beyond just where we were before the pandemic to where we would have hoped to have been now without it. And the gap closure goals were created to cut the gap between our overall population and our historically underserved population in half by the time the longitudinal performance growth targets are reached, or hopefully reached, I believe, in 5 years from when it was written. The report to the board will occur next fall as our growth and status as we try to reach the
Perfect. So unless there's questions, the next phase would be to consider approval of the grant.
both of those documents, I'll just say both the integrated programs budgets and the grant agreement were both extremely detailed. When I first opened up the budget, I was like, is this 0.3 font? So I appreciate the detail. I appreciate really pulling every single piece out. I'm thankful that we were able to, or you were able to align those goals with strategic plan goals that we have set out. I think that was great. So thank you for all of this work.
Yeah, I don't have anything. I think I move to approve the student investment account grant agreement as presented.
A second, although I add a little bit of thank goodness we have the SIA.
Motion was made by Vice Chair Jaimes and seconded by Director Zerschmied. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call for a choral vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. All right, and that brings us to our second action item, which is the second read of Board Policy JFDP. We did meet in an additional work session prior to this meeting to look at the most, kind of talk through the most current version of the policy after taking into account legal counsel, additional behavior committee, community feedback, and the work session feedback, and the larger community feedback session. So I'm going to pass this over. We're actually going to read it because we did make some changes. We also had some cabinet members that joined us and were able to shed some light and kind of give us some information around sort of some wording that we wanted to make sure that we included as well. And I want to say, again, I used this earlier in the work session, this idea of the three-legged stool. And we recognize that people want to see all of the things in this policy. And what's frustrating about the majority of policy is it does have to be sometimes necessarily broad, but that is what, and for the board, that's sort of what we are directed and guided to do. The district, then, we will have that AR and the handbook. Now, the handbook is already a thing. The matrix, the behavior matrix continuum is in process and is not quite done. So you will have an opportunity to see that. We want to make sure that we have the policy in place, and then you can't have an AR until you have a policy. So it's sort of this weird, things sort of happen in a weird order, but we're doing it in the way that we'll have fidelity for the policy and all of the specifics, which is what the district and the community and staff and teachers really need to see. And that is what's going to be housed for teachers and administrators in the AR, and for community members, students, and parents in that handbook. And that is not work that the board does. So I just want to make sure like those sort of those jobs are clear. So I wanted to just kind of reiterate that as we move forward with this policy, and that we did, in fact, and Director Zerschmied will call to this, I know, but we did add a section on accountability, district accountability, and a section on communication specifically. So I wanted to make sure that that was called out as well. So with that,
do you want me to read the whole thing?
I think we should read the whole thing.
I do also want to say that if anybody is following along, watching online, or if you've got your laptop or your iPad with you, if you've got the board packet open, the link to the policy has been updated to the most recent version. If you don't want to listen to my voice drone on, you can mute the sound and just read it for you. But the current JFCP reads, the Tigard-Tualatin School District is committed to providing every student with a safe and welcoming learning environment. The board denounces school violence and will not tolerate student acts of aggression or violence against students or staff on district property or at activities under the jurisdiction of the district. The board charges the superintendent to follow research-based practices equitable, fair, and just when responding to acts of student aggression and violence. The district will support students' constitutional rights, including the right to due process. Definitions of prohibited acts. The Tigard-Tualatin School District adopts the state definition of assault as set forth in ORS 163.160 to 163.185, namely that assault is intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly causing physical injury to another. For its disciplinary response to incidents, the district also adheres to ODE's definitions listed below. Physical aggression means making contact with another with the intent to cause minor harm. Fighting means mutually engaging in physical violence with others with the intent to injure or cause harm. Assault means attacking another with intent to cause serious harm. Encouraging violence means encouraging a peer to engage in a violent act either verbally, through writing, or via a social media post. Using an electronic device to record a physical altercation, act of physical aggression, fighting, or assault, and then posting such a recording to social media or sharing via text message or messaging app is considered an act requiring disciplinary action when such a posting is anticipated to result or does result in a substantial disruption to the educational environment. And here we have a footnote to Tinker versus Des Moines, the Supreme Court case. The Student Handbook. The board directs the superintendent to oversee the development of the Student Rights and Responsibilities Handbook. This handbook will be reviewed and approved by the board as outlined in policy CHCA handbook. This handbook should include guidelines outlining violations, consequences, and disposition in alignment with the district's culturally responsive and restorative practices as affirmed in the EASH, Education Accountability Solutions of Healing framework. Administrators and staff will follow these guidelines when determining appropriate disciplinary action in response to acts of aggression and violence. The guidelines should include a continuum of responses that allow the building administrator or staff member to take into consideration both aggravating and mitigating circumstances. Such circumstances may include the originator's age and cognitive development, the context of the event, the severity of the aggression, the impact on the community of the event, and/or the frequency with which the originator has previously violated district policy or state or federal law. Reporting. Students may report any incident to the school staff, who shall report the incident to the building administrator, to a school administrator, and/or to the Safe Oregon tip line. Parents, guardians, and others are also encouraged to report relevant incidents to the building administrator. Staff members who learn of a potential incident will prioritize the safety and well-being of all persons impacted and promptly report the incident to the building administrator. Building administrators have the responsibility of addressing and investigating all reported incidents. Responding staff shall recognize the experience of all persons impacted, acknowledge the impact, and prevent further harm against those impacted from taking place. Investigation. The building administrator or designee receiving the report of an incident shall notify the victims and originators as well as their parents, guardians in a timely fashion. The notification will include the nature of the incident and that an investigation has been initiated. In support of the investigation process, the building administrator will arrange such meetings as may be necessary with all concerned parties after receipt of the information concerning the incident. The parties will have an opportunity to submit evidence and a list of witnesses. The building administrator must consider whether behavior implicates other district policies or civil rights laws, and if so, respond accordingly. All reports of prohibited acts of aggression will be investigated in a timely fashion and in accordance with the procedures outlined in the handbook. District accountability. The Substantiated incidents shall be tracked and filed with the building and district offices and recorded in the district student information system. The data will be reviewed quarterly for adjustment in disciplinary practice by the district PBIS team, district behavior committee, education equity advisory committee, cabinet, and the superintendent to determine if a more targeted or systemic response is required either for an individual school or the district system as a whole. Superintendent will provide a quarterly report to the board regarding the data and all systems reviews. If a victim or an originator is not satisfied with the final determination, they may submit a written appeal following policy KL-AR1, public complaint procedure. Communication. The building administrator or designee who is conducting the investigation will notify the victim, originators, and their parents' guardians again when the investigation has been concluded. The investigator may release information as to the findings and outcome of the investigation to the victims and their parent guardians only if permitted by state or federal law, such as FERPA. If a law prohibits releasing such information, the investigator will cite the law and explain how the law applies to the current situation. The building administrator will notify and consult with the originator's teachers and relevant staff members about the investigation and outcomes that directly impact impact classroom instruction or supervisory duties. The building administrator may also communicate with families of other students who were impacted by the incident. Discipline. Students found in violation of this policy will be subject to discipline as determined using the guidelines described in the handbook, up to and including expulsion. The building administrator or designee will notify the parent or guardian of any student in violation of this policy and the disciplinary action imposed. Infractions that result in a violation of state or federal law will be referred to law enforcement authorities. Documentation related to the incidents will be maintained as a part of the student's education record. The district will enforce this policy consistently, fairly, and without bias against any student. Incidents involving bullying, sexual violence, or intimidation will follow policy JFCF, hazing, harassment, intimidation, bullying, menacing, cyberbullying, teen dating violence, or domestic violence student. Disciplinary procedures for a student who is identified as having a disability must follow policy JGDA, Discipline of Students with Disabilities, and accompanying administrative regulation. Incidents involving child abuse by a student must follow policy JHFE GBNAB, Suspected Abuse of a Child Reporting Requirements. Then we have our legal references and our cross-references.
Applause for reading that whole thing. Thank you. And I wanted to, two things that I forgot to mention, included in our work session was also some really great student input that we brought into kind of our work this evening. And I also wanted to just mention that we understand how when you don't have all the pieces together all at once, it's hard to see how it will all work. And we are committed to making sure that the policy, the AR, and the handbook all are working together. And so we have then committed to looking at this, all the pieces together in the spring and recalibrating if necessary. And if there are things that are not working, figuring out what that is, getting additional feedback from behavior committees, from schools, just to make sure that, again, with any policy, how we wanted it to work was how it's working. And so that's something that we will be looking at in the spring once all those pieces have been, finalized and they've been in practice. So I just wanted to point that out as well. Yes.
Relative to, I appreciate that, relative to the administrative rule, we will begin work on that once we're back from the break. And we'll be engaging with the district behavior committee and seeking their assistance in terms of drafting the AR, and then bring that piece to you. Probably our goal would be in January, but depending on how the conversations go and the process and the work Sometimes that moves more quickly than other times, but we want to make sure that we are faithful to the process and faithful to the commitment that we have made to the behavior committee.
Comments? Thoughts?
Something wrong with my hand. Thank you for reading that whole thing. I just thank you for the process of our work session. I just have a few things to suggest remaining, just looking at kind of some of what we already did under so we already revised this text, and I think it's a lot better right now. But the part where it says right above the student handbook, where it says, let me read what it currently says. Using an electronic device to record a physical altercation, act of physical aggression, fighting, or assault, and then posting such a recording to social media. I think it should change to and posting such a recording to social media.
You're suggesting taking out then?
Yes.
My fellow board members feel about that. Done.
Thank you. The next part, Director Zierschmied, I think you had read off the part under reporting where it had said in writing, and I can't find it in the draft, and I'm wondering if I'm not looking in the right place. You had read it earlier, but I thought it was in that paragraph under reporting.
No, it's not.
Because that's
when
when
we talked about potential incidents can be
it would be writing until the investigation. So like once the report was substantiated, then it becomes the written.
Okay, that makes sense. So under district accountability, it says all reports shall be tracked, or sorry, it says substantiated incidents shall be tracked and filed with the building and district offices. And so I'm wondering where we're going to house reports that are under investigation. If that goes into the same data system. So it's reported and people are working on it. Where does that go? That just be at the building level?
Yeah,
at that point. I think if it's in the process, like if it's not yet substantiated, so there's been a report. So I think what Director Kinch and Director Fields were explaining was, I mean, that would stay at the building level during that sort of investigation period to determine whether or not it was substantiated, and then it would be right, and then it would move forward from there, and then certainly if actual investigation, because there was something substantiated, then that would be all written and housed in the building and district office.
Okay. And then along those same lines, under discipline, I noticed it says, let me make sure we didn't already change it. Yeah, it says documentation related to the incidents will be maintained as a part of the student's education record. I believe that should read related to substantiated incidents.
I think my original thinking on this section was this section is about students who have been found in violation of the policy. So it is by definition substantiated, but we can certainly add that in.
Thank you.
Other comments? I just want to say thank you to everybody who gave feedback on this. It was a lot of people, a lot of community members, pages and pages of feedback from the community and from the behavior committee. And I especially want to say thank you to all of you who gave feedback and who stuck around to hear us actually vote on this. It's always really frustrating when people come and give public comment about what we should do, and then they leave before we've done it, so they don't know that we've actually done what they asked us to do. But so thank you for those of you who are here. And I just want to say the behavior committee, I heard this evening people expressing frustration that we didn't take their feedback into consideration, and I want to assure you that I did as I was revising this. I read every single note dozens of times to make sure that everything was folded in during the work session as I was describing the new language. I was saying, this is because of the behavior committee's recommendation, because of this. And the agreement we had when we established the behavior committee was that they would review and provide feedback. There was nothing in that agreement that says that they draft. And I'm looking at our president of our union who's shaking his head, so I'm going to just read from the contract. It's really frustrating to hear that they have the right to write district policy when that is specifically the purview of the board. And so while I welcome their input, for them to say that they have the right to draft the policy is simply not true. And he's left, so there's no point in me reading it now. Anyway, thank you everybody for all of your contributions to this. And I was pleased to hear Chair Irvin say that what we're going to do is, as we see the handbook come in, as we see the matrix come in, as we see the ARs come in, we'll absolutely take a look to make sure that the policy and all of those things are aligned and working where we want them to, and make adjustments as necessary.
And with that, I would entertain a motion.
I just wanted to make a, is that okay? Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make a final comment that I'm not sure this is exactly right, but I think it's a step in the right direction. I also look forward to partnering with the community, with teachers, input from our student representatives to keep adjusting as needed. And I think as the ARs are developed, I think we'll be a lot stronger regardless of how we interpret our various agreements. We'll be a lot stronger if we work together. So I look forward to that partnership. I think we need to see all the experts around the table, and I hope we can keep working on this until it really delivers. And so I'm optimistic that this is a step in the right direction, but I think we need to keep working on it, and I appreciate everyone's partnership on this.
If there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
Move that we approve board policy JFCP, Students Act of Physical Aggression or Violence.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Vice Chair Jaimes and seconded by Director Zerschmied. And is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I will move to a roll call vote, and I will go down the line, starting with Director Weston.
Aye.
Vice Chair?
Aye.
Director Zerschmied?
Aye.
And I will have a vote of aye as well, for a vote of 4, 0, and 0, and the motion passes. And I would just like to reiterate, just thank you for the community process in this, and community is never perfect. But I appreciate everybody that's stuck by and kind of seen it through, and hope that you continue to stick by it and see it through, especially as we kind of calibrate in the future. So with that, we'll move to our next, we are skipping D. So our next item is the Alberta Rider Roof Replacement Project with Director Moore.
And Kevin, welcome.
Evening, we're bringing to the board the outcome of a bid process to replace the roof at Alberta Ryder Elementary, and the process was completed in conjunction with Weatherproof Technologies as part of a cooperative agreement with AEPA, and through that process, TTNL Sheet Metal was the low bidder for the amount of $1,777,945. $1,777,945. Getting late in the meeting. So yes, our facilities manager Kevin Montag is here to help address any questions. This one's more straightforward than the other agenda items based on the and it is within our budget of $2 million.
Any questions, comments? All right. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move to award Apollo Mechanical Contractors for the summer. No, next one. Oh,
Page 2D. I know. Sorry. Page 54.
Page 54.
I move to award TTNL Sheet Metal Inc. for the Alberta Ryder Roof Replacement Project for an amount not to exceed $1,777,945.
I second.
Begrudgingly. Motion was made by Director Zerschmied, begrudgingly seconded by Vice Chair Jaime.
Wait, that's the
No.
Is there any
enthusiastically
seconded by Vice Chair Jaime? Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll move to a choral vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And I believe you're staying with us for the final action item.
Yes, the Fowler Sewer Replacement Project. Back in October, the board approved findings to exempt this particular project from the low bid process and to include consideration of both qualification and price of the contractors that submitted proposals. And this evening we're recommending a contract with Inline Commercial Construction. They were both the high score when it came to price and qualification, and their total amount of their pricing is $1,920,900. And both Kevin and Director Bernard were part of the scoring committee in addition to a couple of our consultants. So that is not as straightforward as a low bid process. There's some work that goes into reading proposals, assigning scores, and the recommendation.
I really appreciate that we did that process. This one complicated process, and the implications if it goes wrong are very bad for a certain creek that runs there. Are there any questions from my fellow board members? Hearing none, I move to award Inline Commercial Construction Inc. Fowler Sewer Replacement Project for amount not to exceed $1,920,936.
Oh, go ahead. I second.
Motion was made by Director Zerschmied and seconded by Vice Chair Jaime. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll move to a choral vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And that concludes our action items, and I will open it up to see if anyone would like to use the board member reflection. Otherwise, I will adjourn. All right. Okay, let's do this. Oh.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to bring up, Thank you for everyone's work on the policy that just passed. Just want to say we're continuing to work in partnership. Look forward to that. And I also wanted to bring up, it's come to my attention that students at Tigard High School are asking for a cooking class. And I just wanted to raise that here because I can, and I like getting input.
All right. Noted.
Nice. Noted. Okay. I also wanted to thank everybody for all of their work on the policy and for the comments from the public of whether we were going in the right direction or not. And I just wanted to make sure that I thanked everybody. I also wanted to say, and I know this is probably not going to be taken or received well, but as a former teacher in Tigard-Tualatin, I am now a board member. I think that I'm still very proud of the district, and I know that we have a lot of challenges. I know that there's a lot of safety concerns and a lot of behavior concerns out there, and I get that, but hearing my colleagues say that they are not for inclusion really hurts me. I believe that full inclusion is the right thing that we should be doing, that we should have students in our classrooms that may be a little bit harder to handle than other students. Students with IEPs, I believe that we should definitely have that, they have the right to an education as well. And for me to sit here and not say something about that, I think would be hypocritical as an educator and as a person that believes in equitable outcomes for all of our students. And it was just very disheartening to hear that people didn't want inclusion in the classroom and have everybody clap for them. So I know it's controversial, but I have to say it.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Students, and anyone else? Anna.
Like Director Jaimes was saying, I think for me as a student, having like this opportunity, a space like this with people who are kind of like top of the school district, having this opportunity to talk and voice my opinion for others that like don't have that opportunity to is like a big thing for me. And I know that like hearing voices from the public, from parents, from teachers, from students, the two girls that were here earlier, it just blew me away how confident they were to come up here and talk about that. Because I think if I was in middle school, I would not be able to do that at all. So I just think it's amazing that people do feel like they have a voice because everyone does. And I just I like to like step back and just hear everyone's voice because I feel like there's a lot of different sides of stories, and I also feel like there's times like this where tragic things happen. It is a time where we should come together and not against each other because at the end of the day, it's our community that struggles. So that's all I have to say.
And we are ending on that because that's why I think we're all here and doing what we do. So thank you so much for that.